Steph, you guys have an opportunity to head down to LA and change the narrative, but you also have an opportunity to continue that tradition of Seattle playing well in pressure situations. Can you tell us about how the team is feeling?
Yeah, I mean we're happy to be in a situation where we're getting closer to playing for a trophy, and I think to win trophies you got to play against good sides, and obviously LAFC is one of them. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's been a challenge, obviously. I think with in my experience in the past, it's all about getting momentum going into the playoffs, and these days it's difficult when you are building momentum and all of a sudden you have 3 weeks break. So I think the coaching staff and the players have tried to do everything they can to make sure that we are ticking over and ready to perform, because it'll be a big game. So we're excited again because it's an opportunity to face them again, but also an opportunity to get closer to a trophy.
All right, before we go to Jeremiah, just a quick chime in for Run a Show. For those that are on Zoom, please go ahead and hit that raise hand function button so we can get to your questions if you're not here in the room. At this time, we'll go over to Jeremiah O'Shan.
Yeah, Brian, a little bit of a technical, question. What's the availability of, it looked like Paul wasn't out there. We didn't see Nuhu. If you could share what the
Sure. So
situation is there.
Nuhu's getting on a plane, and he will be available at kickoff. When he comes in is a little bit of a, we're working on it. Paul was off to the side today. He's doing stuff off to the side. That'll probably be a game day decision. We'll have to get him down there and see if he can, strike a ball cleanly and make sure that he can do all the things that he needs to do to be ready to play in such a big game. So they'll be on their separate programs, but we'll get them there.
And what, if you could say what Paul is dealing with, and it sounded like you guys were expecting Nuhu back yesterday. What led to his delay?
His delay is illness, and Paul's is just he's got a quad issue that just isn't. It's being a little bit more stubborn than it should be.
Jada.
Thank you. For Steph, I wanted to ask a little bit about Albert and the way that he's kind of. Do you feel that when he came back, that was also a catalyst to you guys being able to kind of turn things around in the, I think about the middle of the season, and how beneficial has it been to have a player like that on the roster for you?
Oh, very beneficial. It's obviously a player with high quality, and it's one of the reasons why we probably brought him to the squad. I'd also argue I think it's his selflessness. He's a team player. When he first came to the team, he at times had to play out of position, but he did so without throwing any hissy fits, I think, right? He's willing to do the things he needs to do to help the team, and so he's well liked within the squad. And so the last few years, obviously, he's found himself more in his natural position, and you can see his quality come through. He's a very, very good player, and then when you spray in a bit of confidence, with obviously the stats he's been able to achieve this year, he's a good player to have on your team. We're very happy, and rightfully so. I think he got MVP, voted by his own teammates. So he's been a massive part of our success, and hopefully we can put him in positions again this weekend to let his quality shine.
And then, Brian, I know the losses aren't great against LAFC, but tactically, has there been anything that you've enjoyed as far as going up against a coach like Steve in terms of trying to figure out and unlock that?
Well, he's a nice guy. We get along very well. He's an exceptional coach, defensive-minded. He likes to, obviously he's got great attacking players, but he and I sometimes talk about defending and how that works, and his squad and my squad. So we have a good relationship, and obviously Ante and, their whole staff. It's a good staff. What I enjoy about this, it's two big clubs with big ambitions. The results this year haven't gone our way. I think we were a little closer at Starfire. The penalty at the end there, 80-some-odd minute. If you look back on some of the goals that we took against LAFC, I think those were the moments where we might have, shot ourselves in the foot a couple of times, letting balls go in behind us. I do have to comment that Kai Kamara, his goal off the second phase of the corner kick was an excellent take, but we should have done better cleaning up that second ball off corner kicks. That's one of the point of emphasis during this break, defending set pieces and making sure we're understanding our roles and responsibilities. So, I think the teams are going to go after it. We'll be evenly matched, and the team that makes the most plays will come out victorious.
All right, we'll go to Jess next.
This is a question for both of you. Just wanted to quickly ask a question about Christian Roldan. Obviously a very versatile player, played in the back, midfield, on the wing. Just curious to hear both of your thoughts on what it means to have a player like him.
So he's playing now in the middle of midfield. You're right, he is versatile. He might complain about that sometimes, but, it's a coach's dream. So we love having him on the squad. He's been here and helped us win a lot of games, a lot of big games, a lot of critical games. So it's good to have him on the squad.
Yeah, I'd say I think Christian's always been a bit of a spark plug, someone who can put in the work and people can feed off of him. But I think as he's been here for a long, long time, he's also now, I think, one of the guys that brings comfort to a squad, can have people settle down because he is experienced. We know what he brings. He can kind of control the middle of the park. And so he can provide both things, which is great.
Thank you.
All right, we'll swing around back to this side, starting with Jackson, and then we'll come down to Matt Calkins. And yes, I see follow-ups, no worries.
Steph, you've always seen LAFC a few times this year. I'm wondering, in looking at the tape and looking deep into them, are they doing anything different in the last few games that they did middle of the season? And just in general, what makes their attack so difficult for your defense to go against?
They're pretty lethal. They don't need too many chances. I think their guys are hungry. I think going as far back as last year when we made that unfortunate exit in the playoffs, the way Bouanga picks up the ball literally in the middle of the park, where I think 80% of players would just kind of put on the brakes. He smells the opportunity and goes for goal, right? And I think they have multiple guys that are driven like that. And so how do we approach it? I think, we faced them quite a few times now. And it's about not upgrading their shot for one. Can we keep them maybe wide? Because they've proven, even in their national break just recently, that they're capable of shooting when they cut in and finding the target. So I think we've picked up a few things here and there, but it's about what Brian said, whoever makes them more plays. And for us, defensively, it's limiting how big of a chance they have. Make it as tough as possible, give the worst angle possible, make it as challenging as possible, because if we're going to give them too many sniffs, like I said, I think they're going to make their chances count. So,
Stefan, how would you compare your style of goalkeeping to someone like Hugo? And I don't know if goalies ever feel like they're going up against the other goalie necessarily, but what do you think of that matchup and just what he brings to the game?
Yeah, I would say I'm an experienced guy, but compared to that one, I'm probably the inexperienced one. So, no, I mean, look, I'd argue he probably brings calmness to the squad. He has to, with that pedigree, with that history, and a guy who can keep backing it up. He's been doing this for so long. A bit of a different play style than me. I think he's a bit lighter on his feet. So we always, as goalkeepers, we always say that there's not one solution that fits every goalkeeper. Even within our own squad, we have 3-4 completely different guys, and Tommy's very adamant about that we're not trying to hammer in one solution for all. But I would say experience is the thing, right? I mean, in our position, if your body can still do what you're required to do, experience is everything. And he has every bit of that. So
yeah. And Brian, I hope this isn't too broad of a question, but you've been coaching Stefan for a long time. Just how have you seen him evolve as a goaltender over the years?
The end result is what you're seeing. Should have been goalkeeper of the year on multiple occasions. That's the end result. Testing my memory, going back to 2014.
The first year, huh?
Yeah. He came from Toronto, and Toronto was a bit of a mess. I know Zig was keen on him. Tommy, we liked what we saw. There was, not a challenge, but there were some things to get him here in the initial plays. I think he wanted to go maybe see some other places, but we were fortunate to, be able to say, hey, come try Seattle. I think it's worked for both sides. I think the competition early with Marcus, I think the development of Steph through Tommy, because he's the best goalkeeper coach in the league. I think all of that combined with his own work ethic, because the goalkeepers work way harder than the field players do. If you guys that watch the training, Tommy puts you guys through it, and you see the result here. You want to talk about experience? Yes, Lloris, World Cup, all that sort of stuff. But Steph has just as much experience in our league in playoffs. I don't know if they had playoffs over there in Europe or in the World Cup. I don't think they do. So he's got maybe a little more playoff experience. And, we'll see. Both tremendous goalkeeping on both sides of the, score sheet.
All right, we're going to come into Matt Winter next, who's taking questions on Zoom. Reminder, if you're a media member on Zoom, please hit the raise hand function button to get your question in. Matt, we'll go to you next.
All right, I see a couple hands up here on Zoom, so we'll start with Masvita. Masvita, go ahead and take yourself off mute and ask your question.
Thanks. Hey, Brian, my point is getting a fast start, and I'm going to follow this up with a stat. LAFC has scored.
I've seen it. I've seen it.
6 of those have been come in the first half, and they're scoring out in the 21st minute. Can you just, what do you say?
Yeah, we can't afford to go down. Their record when they go up 1-0 is very good as well. So we're going to have to, play well defensively, but then we're also going to have to try and put them under pressure because we can't just bunker in for 90 minutes. Look, Maz, you guys know how we play. We're not going to shy away from pressing higher up the field in the right moments, goal kicks, throw-ins deep. When we extend our possessions into their half of the field, our active defending has to be spot on. There's a lot of tactics that need to go right, but again, we got to make some plays. We got to keep them off the score sheet, and we've got to, again, try and score a goal ourselves. That's been one of the talking points here this week.
This is for Stefan. Going back to Tommy Dutra. Tommy Dutra is a great coach because.
Well, if I'd have to give you the most broad and basic, he loves goalkeeping. He lives and breathes that position, and because of that, he's excited to work every single second that he puts into it, and he puts in a lot of work, even off the pitch. You can tell. In the off season, this guy goes to Europe, to Spain, to Germany. He uses his whole network to go and find all of the best drills that they're currently doing on the biggest teams, and then he brings them back, and even sometimes leaves his wife in Europe so he can come back in preseason just in time to be with his goalkeeping crew. He's completely committed to the squad and goalkeeping, and I think because of that passion, it's super easy for his goalkeepers to follow. He brings that every day, and so if you're driven yourself, but you have a guy that leads it and wants to achieve things every day, then you just got to follow suit. It's quite simple, and so that passion, that's I've never seen that before. I feel like I'm a quite passionate goalkeeper, and I'm passionate about that position, but there's nobody like Tommy when it comes to goalkeeping, and it means the world. Honestly, because again, it just makes our job easy because we know that we're taken care of. We get the best drills, the best things that there is in that position in particular because he does all the research, and we just follow suit.
Thanks. And one more quick one. In terms of balls coming behind the defense, how much is that between you and the back line? I know they can't quite hear you. How much synergy do you need for that not to happen?
Yeah, actually, I think it's a bit more of a. I try to stay connected as much as I can. But I think we've realized more that it's actually a connection between the back line and the rest of the squad, right? Because we got to make sure that if we press, that we can get the guy who has the ball under pressure and put his head down. Because if there's no pressure on the ball and we step blindly, I mean, at some point I cannot step to stay connected, right? So that's more of a communication between our back line and the front. Maybe there's a moment where you say, hey, no, we got to stay compact, got to wait for that moment. And maybe there's a time where the back line has to realize that Jordan and Albert or whoever's up there is going now in this instance and is able to put pressure on the ball, and so therefore we can all go and support him, right? But it has to happen as a unit, because you're absolutely right. In a stadium, I can be screaming my lungs on top of my lungs, and nobody's going to hear anything. And there's risks that you can take in the back, but only so much. And so it's a fine line, yeah.
Thank you.
Looks like we have one more hand up in Zoom. So Felipe Makeda, you can go ahead and take yourself off mute and ask your question.
Thank you, Matt. Coach Brian, my question to you is how the team is doing. If everybody is to his potential, to his 100%, particularly Pedro de la Vega. And for Stefan, is this the most important game of the season?
I'll go first. Mine's easy. Yes, of course. It's the last game of the season if we don't win it. So, and we're 3 games away from a trophy. So yes, it is definitely the most important game that we still get to play, and we're looking forward to it.
Most important game, and everybody's in a good way. You know, the weather has worked out. We've had some dry days. We've been able to work on the tactics. Training has been very good.
All right, we'll keep going here in the room. Thanks for those that have been patient with their follow-ups. We'll just make our way down this row, starting with Jose, and then Jeremiah, then Jada.
Brian, during this season, you mentioned that this isn't your team, that this is your team's. They are the owners of how the team goes. What is the challenge you have for them as they head off to this very important match?
It is their team. That's my belief. Coaches are stewards. We guide and coach and do our thing, but they're the guys that put the hard work in every day, all year in the long season. So, yeah, they need to reward themselves for the work that they do. The challenge is more of an opportunity. Again, some results went our way on the other side of the bracket. We get a couple wins, we might host. So there you go. There's a challenge, an opportunity. It kind of happened like that in 2019. We didn't know we were going to host until Toronto, upset whoever it was, Atlanta or someone. But it's opportunity for me.
Jeremiah?
Yeah, Steph, if you could just think back to the end of the summer transfer window, and I'm curious what was the messaging, whether it was literally said to you guys or if it was just sort of what you took away from it when essentially there were no big additions in the off season, and it was or in the summer, and they were sort of doubling down on the guys that were here and sort of the betting that the players that had taken you to that point would get you essentially to this point.
Yeah, well, we're never the ones kept in the loop in terms of if there's going to be any additions made or not. We're probably the ones finding out after you guys. But so we always work with what we have, and I think what worked out for us is that yes, in the very beginning of the season, before anybody even steps on the field for preseason, you say on paper, how are we looking? I think on paper we're a good side, very good side. Really believe in ourselves, and then preseason we had a good preseason, I thought, and then our beginning of the year wasn't good, but I think the results were on a knife's edge at all times, and you could sense we were there. We were just missed a little stupid mistake here or a goal in an important time right there, and it just changes the script. And then I think once we found that, that gave us some confidence, and we went with it. But I think because those games were pretty lost on a small margin, I think it wasn't like we were getting blown out of the water and we were like, well, we need to change something. It was like, no, we're right there, and I think it never changed it ate at our belief in ourselves. We've throughout the year, I think, have believed in ourselves and the quality we have in this locker room, and that we're able to achieve something. And look, now we're 3 games away of doing so. So nothing has changed. It's just we were able to find some results. Hopefully, learn how we're able to do that a bit more efficiently along the way. But yeah, in a way, it proved that we had enough in the beginning. And I still strongly believe this team has enough to win something. And this goes back to what Schmetzer says, that's why this is an opportunity. Players have limited years of playing professionally, and every year is an opportunity if you have a squad that's capable. Otherwise, yeah, you're wasting time. But we have an opportunity, and I hope we all look at it that way.
All right. Jada, go ahead, please.
Thanks. Brian, Pedro has the only goal that you guys have scored against LAFC. Can you talk, injury aside, about him that game, that very first game of the season, and how he's developed, or what he kind of looks like now as a player, and what you kind of imagined for him?
It's still a work in progress. I mean, Pedro, yes. What I remember about that game is, when we tried to get ourselves back into it, there was a penalty kick, and he stepped up right away. He was saying, I'm going to take this, I'm going to bury this, I'm going to help my team. And I like that attitude. And then, of course, the physical side, he had some challenges. He's working through all of that. He's a much better athlete now. He's getting used to the rigors of MLS. I think he's getting fitter. The difference between, Lanouche and MLS, there are some differences there stylistically as well. There's expectations that I might have that, some of his previous coaches didn't have. And he's taken some time to learn all those things, but he's getting close. What I always say to Pedro is, look, he's this close because once I think he scores like the first goal in the run of play. He had one earlier in the Leagues Cup, but, once he gets that first goal, I think it's going to, break the ice. I think he's a tremendous young man, a very talented soccer player, and so we have high hopes for him.
I think we're going to leave it there. Oh, one more here. Yep. That's the last one, and then we got to get these guys out to their production meetings.
Steph, obviously a lot has been made about the performances against LAFC recently, but you guys are also, winners of 7 of 9, haven't lost in the last 9. Coming into a game on a cold streak, maybe less confidence. Coming in on a hot streak, maybe more confidence. Is one of those feelings way more in the locker room right now heading into this one?
I mean, to me, I think, if you're going to focus on negative things, then you're in trouble already. So you always try to focus on all the positives without fooling yourselves either, right? Yes, the reality is that they've had our number. We know that. I think we looked at, we've seen plenty of what makes them tick and makes them work. We've looked at more footage to make sure that we are, again, reminded of that and know what makes them work, makes them tick. But at the same time, it's about focusing about us. And again, if we do believe in our ability, if we can perform to the best of our abilities, I think we'll have a good chance of getting a decent result down there. So it's a good mix, but I'd always like to focus on positives because the negatives are not going to help you.